the richest man in the city, stepped out of his mansion gates that morning wearing torn slippers, a faded singlet, and a battered Keke napep, and by nightfall, he would discover a truth that all his billions could never buy. Tobena Iheanacho had everything money could purchase. At 34, he controlled one of the largest oil and logistics empires in Lagos, with skyscrapers bearing his family name and a fleet of cars that most people would never see in a lifetime. Yet every night, he sat alone in a house so large that his own footsteps echoed back at him like mockery. Every woman who smiled at him seemed to be counting the zeros in his account, rather than looking into his eyes. His mother, before she passed, had once told him that a man who cannot find someone to love him for nothing is the poorest man alive. Those words haunted him more than any boardroom failure ever could. So on a bright Tuesday morning, under a sky washed clean by the previous night's rain, Tobena made a decision that stunned his personal assistant. He would disappear. Not permanently, not recklessly, but enough to walk among ordinary people as an ordinary man. He rented a small, rusted Keke napep from a mechanic, who owed him a favor and asked to be paid in silence rather than money. He wore clothes he found in a second-hand market in Ajagunla, clothes that smelled of other people's struggles. He gave himself a new name, Sunday, and began driving passengers through the sun-drenched streets of Ojuelegba, collecting coins that once wouldn't have covered his shoe polish bill. If you believe that true love isn't found in wealth but in kindness, in humility, and in second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Whispering Tales Stories so you never miss a story like this one. The first week was humbling in ways Tobena never expected. His hands blistered against the handlebars. His legs ached from the vibration of broken roads. Passengers haggled over 50 naira, as though their lives depended on it. And for many of them, it truly did. He listened to a mother crying softly in the back seat because she couldn't afford her son's school fees. He listened to an old man recount how he lost his shop to demolition. He began to understand hunger not as a concept in an economic report, but as a weight etched onto real faces. For the first time in years, Tobena felt something crack open inside his chest. Not pity, but recognition. These were the people his companies employed, yet he had never truly seen them. It was on the 9th day, under a punishing early afternoon sun, that he first noticed her. She stood by the roadside near a small provision store, balancing a tray of sachet water on her head, her wrapper dusty at the hem but her spine straight with quiet dignity. Her name, he would later learn, was Adaisi Chukwuemeka. She waved down his Keke, not for a ride, but to sell him a sachet of water. Her voice warmed despite the heat pressing down on the street. When he fumbled with his coins, embarrassed by how unfamiliar poverty still felt on his tongue, she laughed gently and told him to keep it, that a thirsty man should never be made to feel small over 20 naira. That laughter stayed with him long after he drove away. He began finding reasons to pass her corner every day. Sometimes he bought water he didn't need. Sometimes he simply parked under the almond tree near her stall and watched her interact with everyone who passed. The elderly woman she helped carry firewood, the child she scolded gently for playing too close to the road, the shop owner she assisted with balancing accounts because she was quicker with numbers than anyone Tobena had hired with a university degree. Adais carried herself like someone who had been broken by life more than once, yet had chosen, again and again, to remain soft. She told him one afternoon, as they sat on wooden stools sharing roasted corn, that her father had died when she was 16, leaving her mother to raise 4 children by selling ground nuts. She had given up her own dream of studying pharmacy so her younger siblings could stay in school. She said this without bitterness, only quiet acceptance, and Tobena found himself speechless in a way that no boardroom negotiation had ever left him. He fell in love with her slowly, the way dawn arrives, not all at once, but in gradual streaks of light that eventually fill the whole sky. He loved that she never once asked what Sunday did before driving Keke, never pressed him about a past he kept vague. He loved that she shared her food with strangers even when her own stomach growled. He loved that when his Keke broke down one evening and he had no money for repairs, she quietly sold 2 of her wrappers to help him, refusing to let him sleep on the roadside. It was an act of sacrifice from a woman who had almost nothing, given freely to a man she believed had even less. That night sitting outside, her family's modest zinc-roofed home while her younger siblings played nearby, Tobena almost confessed everything. His name, his companies, the empire waiting for him behind the disguise. But fear stopped him, not fear of her rejection, but fear that the truth might poison something pure before it had the chance to fully bloom. He told himself he would reveal everything soon. He did not know that soon would arrive sooner, and far more painfully than he expected. Word had begun to spread that the missing billionaire, Tobena Iheanacho, had not been kidnapped as tabloids speculated, but had simply vanished from public life. His board members grew desperate, hiring investigators who eventually traced faint clues back to Ojuelegba. On the very afternoon Tobena planned to finally tell Adaeze the truth. 2 black SUVs rolled into the dusty street, and his assistant stepped out, addressing him loudly by his real name in front of the entire community. The market fell silent. Vendors stared, children pointed, and Adaeze, standing frozen with a tray of sachet water still balanced on her head, looked at him as though the ground beneath her had crumbled. Her eyes, once warm with unguarded affection, hardened with the specific pain of someone who believes they have been mocked. She turned and walked away without a single word, disappearing into the market crowd before Tobena could even form an apology. For 3 days Tobena returned to that street, no longer in disguise but in humility. He sat outside her family's home, ignoring the stares of neighbors who now recognized him from news broadcasts. He did not come with jewelry or checks. He came only with truth. He explained that his mother's dying words had sent him searching for genuine love, that he had never meant to deceive her heart, only to protect it from being loved for the wrong reasons. He told her that everything he felt for her, every quiet afternoon, every shared piece of corn, every ounce of respect had been real, more real than anything money had ever given him. On the 4th day, Adaeze finally opened her door. She did not run into his arms, nor did she forgive him instantly. Instead, she asked him one question: if she remained poor forever, would he still choose her? Tobena knelt in the dust of her compound, in front of her mother, her siblings, and curious neighbors, and told her that wealth had never once made him feel as rich as her laughter did. Slowly, cautiously, she allowed herself to believe him. If this story touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that real love sees beyond appearances, please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment below. It truly means the world to us and helps this story reach more people who need it. Months later, Tobena funded Adaeze's long-abandoned dream of studying pharmacy, not as a gift meant to buy her affection, but as a promise kept between equals. He rebuilt her family's home not as charity, but as gratitude for a woman who had once given a stranger a sachet of water and a piece of her heart when she had every reason to walk away. Their wedding was held not in a 5-star hotel, but under the same almond tree where they first sat together, surrounded by market women, Keke drivers, and children who had once called him Sunday. Before we close this story, if it moved you even slightly, type the word grace in the comments below. Let it be a small reminder that real love finds us not through riches, but through humility, patience, and honesty. Tobena often said afterward that he built an empire with strategy and ambition, but he built a home with nothing more than sincerity and a broken-down Keke. And in a world so quick to measure worth in currency, their story remained a gentle, enduring proof that true love asks for nothing but an open, honest heart.